Bandai just announced the Naruto TCG and it has a ton of people, myself included, extremely excited to see how the game is gonna play. But I think the bigger question is, can the Naruto TCG actually survive this time? Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, there have been several attempts to try and get a Naruto card game going as well as a Dragon Ball Z card game going. They start off with a lot of steam, and then the hype just dies down and the game just disappears. They're going to be doing a playtest of Naruto TCG at Gen Con, and that's going to be July 29th. We're going to be able to break down the nuts and bolts and dive into the mechanics of the game. But with the publisher being Bandai, I really wouldn't be surprised if it's extremely similar to One Piece TCG and Gundam. Gundam recently just released and One Piece released a few years back, but they both kind of got a lot of traction, started to become more successful and pick up a large crowd at locals. So I see this being maybe those games with the Naruto twist, but we'll see more July 29th. I think just Naruto as a franchise is in a very weird spot because the anime's been done for years. We have Boruto going on, but it's not as popular. But I think that you don't need me to tell you that Naruto's probably one of the most popular IPs out there when it comes to anime. And with anime becoming more mainstream and intertwined with pop culture, Naruto is like that gateway drug to get all your friends into anime. It's something that's been around for multiple generations. We have us who watched it growing up. We have this new generation that's now getting into anime now that it's intertwined and more mainstream. And we've all grown up. So we have disposable income. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't got that much disposable income to just be spending on stuff. But we have the money to afford these cards if we want to get into Naruto TCG. Back in the day with some of the earlier iterations of TCG games with Naruto, I had to beg my mom, hey mom, can you please buy me some cards? And a lot of times the answer was no. But I think now is the perfect time for Bandai to strike with the Naruto IP because I feel like card games are kind of blowing up with a lot of people getting into them. A lot more people are getting into Pokemon TCG. We see the success of One Piece. So it only makes sense for another anime IP on the scale of One Piece to start to see similar success, especially if you can design a good game. Now, a lot of anime TCGs do fail. We see them come and go every year because most are never able to actually build a community. I know with Naruto TCG, I'm going to be going hard on this, covering all the news, all the updates. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and like the video. But if I don't have a community local to me, I'm not going to have anyone to play matches with, to play test with, or talk and like build a community around. So I think a big part of it is just going to be how much buy-in there is local to everyone when it comes to the actual TCG, or if they launch with some type of online player. But most anime TCGs don't get that type of investment. It sometimes comes off as like a short cash grab, and you're not going to want to invest your money in a game that's dying. Local card shops aren't going to buy booster boxes and have them in stock if no one's buying them and there's no player base to support tournaments. Like, there are just so many examples of failed card games with an anime skin on it, and they just stay niche and never grow out of that core fan base. Now, why I think the Naruto TCG has a real chance this time is because a lot of people don't like the power creep that the previous Naruto card games have had with the cards and the design and like just the mechanics. It's just like no one wants to do all that. But I feel like with Bandai learning so much from the One Piece TCG, carrying that into the Gundam TCG, those are the two that I'm familiar with. I'd recently been looking to get into one of the two or Pokemon again, and Naruto just happened to come at the perfect time. So I'm going to dive into this one hardcore. But those are the two that I know. I'm sure that there are others that I'm missing, but they've taken these things that they're learning from game to game and attaching mechanics specific to the game's IP to that card game with a similar basic structure. Gundam, for instance, I believe you're able to have the Gundam mechs, and if you have the matching pilot, you can attach it to the mech to get a special ability. This is something very unique to Gundam, but at its core, the card setup, the layout, and the actual gameplay is very similar to One Piece with that additional twist. I could see us getting something in Naruto TCG like that, where we saw this card right here, which is a chakra card that likely you're going to have to tap in order to use the different attacks with your shinobi. Now, with the Naruto spin, I could see them giving us squads and allowing us to have 4-man squads. We have one active leader and then 3 shinobi in the backline to formulate your squad, and then you go and do different attacks. Like, it's still very up in the air, but there are so many ways that they can do this to actually make an enjoyable game. We already know we finna get 1,000 Sasuke's, we finna get 1,000 Naruto's, we're gonna have everyone playing Itachi or Minato whenever they release them. Me included. I'm not hating, I'm not judging. But there's just so much excitement with this game and this announcement, and I really hope that they can overcome those hurdles and carry this momentum into the launch of the game. Now, I've seen a few mock-ups for potential card designs, and they really can just go insane with the different designs they can do with the full arts. Like, there's just so much room out there to not only make this a very good card game for us to actually physically play, but to make collecting these cards enjoyable. One thing that makes me enjoy playing a deck more is if I actually like the way that it looks and I'm using cards that look cool. And I have like with the different art from Kishimoto, like there's just so much craziness that can happen with the designs of these cards. And I know they're not gonna fumble it this time. Like even if we just get carbon copies of the way that the Gundam cards look or the One Piece cards look, that's a win in itself. And then we got the manga rarity arc. Oh my God. Like, this can be insane, bro, from a collector standpoint and from a playing standpoint. I know that some people prefer Naruto over One Piece, but they're playing the One Piece TCG because that's just the closest they can get to an actual card game with an IP that they care about. So hopefully we're able to pull some of those players from that TCG to actually get a community going with the Naruto TCG. I know that as soon as we get booster boxes announced, I'm going to my locals, I'm asking to pre-order some, and I'm hoping that we can start getting tournaments in a community formulated, because there's just something about being able to play the game in person with the physical cards. Online is good for playtesting, but I think getting this game in locals is going to be such an essential thing to making this one stick and building up that fan base. Now, I don't know how much of an impact there's going to be based on the fact that the Naruto anime isn't airing currently. That's one thing that the One Piece TCG or Gundam has going for it, is like they actively have projects that are pulling on new fans and their marketing pushes being put behind them to get these games in front of you along with their IPs. That's one of the hurdles that I can see the Naruto TCG having, unless they release it with Boruto picking up and they get into the Blue Vortex side of Boruto and not just the non-stop filler. But I think there's a very good chance that they're going to make sure this TCG is successful, because Naruto is one of Bandai's biggest IPs and it's been dormant for too long, and there's too much money they're leaving on the table by not having a successful TCG attached to their biggest IP. But I'm going to be your main source for all Naruto TCG news, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel and like the video. I'm going to come back once we actually get the gameplay mechanics and any news and break it all down. But thank you so much for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.